Committee, earlier today, you should have received an email from Jennifer Light with the numbers per the recommendation from yesterday. Couple of things just to ease everyone's mind on some things. I know that it kind of went a little crazy yesterday. So I want to reassure everyone, this recommendation has nothing to do with the operating budget of KSDE, the department. Okay. It also has nothing to do with the children's cabinet. Those are CIF funds, and so it does not touch those two parts of the budget. With that, if you look at the sheet, I'm going to have Jennifer just run down very clearly what it does include, and then we'll open it up for questions and then hopefully move on. Jennifer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As the chair has already stated, the operating costs are still in. They're not on this document because this document is the state aid portion of the split between state aid and operations. In the state aid table, if you go down on the state general fund, the education superhighway, the funding has been zeroed out. The CTE transportation, the funding has been zeroed out. School safety and security grants, funding has been zeroed out. Mentor teacher program, funding has been zeroed out. Professional development, funding has been zeroed out. Teacher excellence and computer science advancement award, grants, those have been zeroed out. Under the other state funds, Spark Wheel is the only one that was zeroed out there. The rest of the table, and you can see that. Oh, and for those who are wondering, special education reappropriations, that $23,000 is still in there, but the $10 million that the House added in 26 is not. So as it stands now, the reappropriations in 25 for special education are there, and then in 26 we're at $601 million for special education. And that is where we are at in the state aid side. And the operations remained as they were. Children's cabinet remains as it is. And that covers it all, Madam Chair, I believe.
Thank you. And committee, so the difference between, you can look at the difference between what's in 2007 and our education enhancements. So you can see the difference between the two. So hopefully that helps provide some specific clarity and numbers that were requested yesterday around that recommendation. So any other recommendations, committee? Senator Sykes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before I make a recommendation, I have a couple of questions. This committee has always made recommendations for the full Department of Education, including the operations. So why are we not making that recommendation this year? And
you can make a recommendation. What I made, my recommendation only dealt with this, not the operating.
Okay.
But you most certainly can make a recommendation. Okay. Could take back to Ways and Means.
Okay, thank you. My other question, and Jennifer, thank you for the chart and all of this. And so I think my question then again was the motion that the chair made was to fully fund schools per Gannon, including CPI, nothing more, nothing less. And then she stated certain line items that were her decision or what she felt was in that. And the chart that you have added some other funding. So how did that get included in the budget?
I'll answer that, Jennifer. So when I was preparing to make this recommendation, I did sit down with staff and we went through and initially thought those were the items. Upon further examination, we sat down yesterday after this meeting and wanted to make sure to clarify before we gave it all out to the committee. And since a couple of those items are tied to federal funds down below, since that's tied into those federal funds, and if there was an indirect relationship to the finance formula, we did not want to touch those. And so that's why we came up with this definitive list for the committee today.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Then I am actually even more glad that I asked that we bring this and discuss it for today, because the public deserves to know what we are putting in for public education and for our Department of Education, and not behind the scenes backroom deals, because what was said in this committee and what is in this chart are very different, and we owe it to the public to be transparent. And the whole budget process has changed this year. As I said, we normally approve the entire Department of Education. That was not. So we are doing a disservice to Kansans by what happened in this committee yesterday. So with that, I think we need to start from scratch, and because I do not believe that these items were voted on in this committee yesterday, and we need to be completely transparent.
I will take issue with the characterization that there were any backdoor deals made. As chair, I met with staff. If you want to classify that as backdoor deal, that's your prerogative, but I take exception to that, and I think that demeans our staff. Secondly, it was very transparent. What's in Gannon? We went over a list. We made sure, and I've provided that list for you today. I don't know what's more transparent than that.
So, Madam Chair, I think your comments when we started this committee, you said I made the motion yesterday, and I said these items, and that's what this body voted on. And then you had conversations after the fact, not in public, adding other things that were not. Yes, maybe that it was part of Gannon, but that was not part of your discussion.
I'm happy to make another motion to include this additional funding, or the committee can stand with the previous lesser amount. And then I'll be happy to make the original, I am happy to make the original recommendation to Ways and Means without these additional funding in it. And then that will clarify anything I said or any conflict that you may have with the information provided. Senator Petty.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I do appreciate the clarification as to what was included when your motion. My concern yesterday was that as this committee had been looking at the K-12 budget, we had not gone into a conversation about Gannon and what was covered in Gannon. And so to me, that totally changed what we were doing when it came to the budget for K-12. And this now, and I do appreciate having the table, in the past, and I'm going to talk about the past because I've been here for a while, and when we've looked at the budget and whether it's this budget or since you serve on Ways and Means and I do as well, and that we, unless somebody specifically takes out a continuing funding item, that stays as the base amount, and that we now see from this that items that are not going to be enhanced are actually deleted, which would be very unclear from that motion made yesterday. For example, mentor-teacher program, professional development, teachers' excellence, computer science grants, CTE transportation. We already know that the school safety and secure grants were transferred to the Attorney General's office already. But these are an education superhighway. These are all being removed without any discussion about that there no longer will be that base funding. And I think that does a disservice to the process that we were involved in at looking at the K-12 budget.
Senator, I'll make it abundantly clear. My motion was to fully fund schools per Gannon. That's what that did. That's what this does. And if there are no recommendations, we do have our master teachers here. So we want to make sure that we get them involved and hear from them. So,
Chair, point of order,
what is your point of order?
Well,
Do you have a recommendation?
You mean for this budget?
Yes.
So we're not going to, are we going to come back to this budget?
No, we're done with the discussion on budget unless you have a recommendation. Do you have a recommendation, Senator Sykes?
I would like to have clarity on what it is we are doing. Is the motion on, that was on the table and the funding, what you said yesterday, or is it in the addition that research added after the fact? What is your motion?
The recommendation is to fully fund schools per Gannon. That's the recommendation.
Madam Chair,
And you have the sheet before you.
Madam Chair, I have two different discrepancies on what your motion did.
I
would like
clarified,
to know-
Senator, I'm going to tell you now because we're not going to filibuster our presentation from the master teachers. As I said, I will stick with my additional recommendation of yesterday, if that's the transparency that you're seeking, and that will be the recommendation to Ways and Means. That's not the last train out of the station. As you well know, these are recommendations. Ways and Means, it can be taken up and there can be debate on the floor regarding this budget. With that, we are moving on.
Chair.
You are out of order. We are moving on to our master teacher presentation. Emporia State University is here, and I see Greg. Greg, were you going to introduce our teachers today? Welcome to committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm happy to introduce this year's class of 7 Kansas Master Teachers. The Master Teachers program was established at Emporia State University in 1954. It's funded by grants from the Bank of America Foundation. And each year, a group of representatives from a variety of different educational groups select the 7 Master Teachers. This year, we have a pretty good geographic disparity. For the teachers. They were selected out of 36 applications and come from a variety of places. So I'd like to introduce each of them. And Casey Engel, an English language arts teacher at Blue Valley High School. Jennifer Gillespie, a social studies teacher at Maxville High School. Jessica Madinger, an English language arts teacher at Northern Heights High School, who had the privilege of taking me once for class long ago. Rochelle Mann, a K-4 music teacher at Amelia Earhart Elementary in Goddard. Heather Newkirk, a 3rd grade teacher at Heller Elementary in Yodashay. Mary Levon Roseberry, an English speech communication teacher at Sedgwick High School in Sedgwick. And Andrew Taylor, a 9th grade biology teacher at Olathe Northwest High School. So I guess I would allow you to ask them questions, I assume, going forward.
Wonderful. What we would like to do is just have each of you, and if you have some order you would like to do, just talk to us about your experience and anything you'd like to share with the committee. So we can, don't be shy. Come, welcome to committee.
Thank you. Andrew Taylor, 14 years in the classroom, spent 5 in Topeka and now 9 at Olathe Northwest. Teaching is something where there's never a day quite like the other. Students make it interesting, but it's the students that we're there for. So really pride on being able to hear the student voice in my classroom, as well as in my extracurricular activities where I'm a robotics coach, and my students do more than just build robots, outreach events throughout the community, and are advocating as well just to increase the opportunities for robotics throughout the state of Kansas. And so we're looking forward to being back up here in a couple of weeks with students in tow. So thank you so much for having us here today.
You bet. Committee, any questions for Casey? My son was in robotics, in first robotics. Boy, that's really going to age me. But yes, and so how much fun are the competitions? It's better than any state championship football or basketball game I ever went to. It was a lot of fun. So
The energy
thank you
is
for
a
doing
lot of
that.
fun.
It
Thank you.
is a lot of fun. Senator Gossage, did you have a question?
Yes, I just wanted to say, I see biology.
Yes.
And I'm a senator and I have parts of Olathe as well. But I would not have put biology and robotics. Can you explain that?
Yeah, that is a good connection. They usually don't go together. So I actually teach in an engineering academy at Olathe Northwest High School. And so all of my students take a science class and an engineering class concurrently, so they can see how the two fields can really inform each other. And when I applied for the biology teacher position, they said, hey, would you like to be an assistant coach for this robotics program? And then 1 year goes by and the head coach leaves, and hey, you're the head coach now. But it's been a really great 8 years now in that role.
Have you taken your students to Garmin? Because I was fascinated when I was there of all the little robots, they're moving around.
We've been to other areas in Olathe, Honeywell in particular, and we have many mentors from Garmin, but we ourselves have not yet made it out to Garmin.
The students would really enjoy it. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you so much for being here. Jennifer? Welcome to committee.
My name is Jennifer Gillespie, and I'm a social science teacher at Maxville High School. We are a small 1A Division I school. We bus kids in from 5 different counties, and we are one of the largest geographic districts in the entire state of Kansas. I teach high school social sciences. I also have certification in K through 12 health education. So, thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Questions? Senator Gossage.
Sorry about that. So where are you so Senator Argabright is your senator, is that right? Then who is your senator?
Tory Blue.
Oh, Senator Blue, okay. Sorry, I was just trying to identify exactly where Maxville is.
We are halfway between Hutch and Dodge City on Highway 50.
That's easy. Thank you so much.
Probably the biggest challenge we have is recruiting teachers to certain areas. Mathematics, we've been looking for a math teacher for several years now and have been unable to find one. So the teacher shortage is definitely a concern out in the small western Kansas schools.
Okay, thank you very much for being here. Jessica. Hi, Jessica, welcome.
Can you hear me? No. Here we go. My name is Jessica Madinger. I am a high school English teacher at Northern Heights High School in North Lyon County. Senator Argabright over there was actually my superintendent before I came to North Lyon County. I taught at Olpe High School in South Lyon County. And I just want to say that today has been enjoyable because I've gotten to see Senator Argabright. I got to share this day with my current principal. I'm here with with Emporia State University, which is where I got my bachelor's degree, and it's just really neat to have all of those connections. And I am the teacher I am today because of those people who've poured into me.
Wonderful. Any questions? Senator Shane.
I just want to say congratulations to surviving Senator Argabright.
Thank you.
I think we need to talk later, maybe get some leverage for something. I bet you have some good stories on the senator. So, any other questions, committee? Senator Starnes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I guess this is an overall question for all of you because I'm hearing about and understand about, I'm a former superintendent as well, and dealing with the ability to attract and keep teachers, and just be interested in what all your thoughts are as a profession. What can we do to help that along?
An excellent question. I'm not sure. I think like Jennifer was saying, we've been down a science teacher for 2 years, and we have one who is retiring this year, and we'll be down another one. And I think what it comes down to is people can get more money in larger districts for fewer preps, and that is really appealing. I don't know how you fix that issue, but.
Yeah, that's interesting. And like you said, it's a complex issue and how to work it and to continue to provide for your students as well, because ultimately that's why you're here, because you guys care about people and you really care about your students, and applaud that effort very much so, and want to make sure we're attracting the best and the brightest to lead the children, and just anybody that has, as your group and discussions, talk about how we can help do that. And it may be more pay, it may be lots of other things, I'm not sure. And so asking the same questions of how can we do this?
Senator Gossage.
Thank you so much, and congratulations. I'm a former teacher, but back in the day, we won't say how far back, there was a glut of teachers. I mean, when you went to turn in your app, we had to fill out applications by hand. When you went in to turn in your application, they would say, thank you, and put it on a pile this high. And you're like, okay, well, good luck with that. And they're like, yeah, we've already filled all of our positions. Do you need substitute teachers? No, we're full up on that too. What changed? That would be good for somebody to study, to figure out what exactly happened, because we had so many people going into the teaching field, particularly in my area, Eudora, with KU right there, in other schools. But thank you so much, and appreciate all the teachers being here today.
Is that a question? Am I answering that, or that was just a comment?
It was a comment, but you're welcome to answer.
I think what I've seen from a lot of teachers is, or a lot of people just in general, is they think that there are fewer hoops to jump through in other professions, and they also don't have quite as many people looking over their shoulder and criticizing what they do. So that is a tough part of my job, is having to answer to parents. So yeah.
I think Andrew and Jennifer are going to go, whew, we got off easy. They warmed up by the third person. We may have to have them back up to grill them. Any other questions for Jessica? Thank you so much for being here. I think I might have missed Casey. Is Casey? Casey, welcome to committee.
Thank you for having us all. So my name is Casey Engel. This is my silver anniversary in the classroom, year 25 for me. I started out on the far south side of Chicago. Nearly broke me, but I moved back. I'm from Kansas City, and I have been through Olathe, went to Notre Dame de Sion for 12 years, and I'm definitely in my forever school, Blue Valley High, so thank you. I teach AP Literature. Right now I'm also teaching sophomores creative writing and media and popular culture, which is not my wheelhouse. They teach me more about their popular culture than I do them. So, yeah.
So 25 years, what has been, in your opinion, the biggest change from the time you started to now as far as education?
That is such a huge question. It's a cultural change, with our students, with politics. I think things are becoming increasingly difficult at every level, and students are struggling now more than ever. And so for us to even sort through what is most important for us to do on a daily basis is becoming a real challenge. And I know it sounds trite to say, but while everything's online, our students are moving at such a fast pace, and it's hard for us to catch up to exactly what we need to do every day. So the more bills that you can write and pass to support and fully fund education, to protect our libraries and just support us as public educators would be very appreciated. Thank you.
Senator Shane.
Okay, we'll have a fun one. So
Yes.
what role does generative AI have in your creative writing courses?
How much time do you have? I was just talking about this over lunch. We are going to use Lockdown Browser when our students go to write a lot of times, because the tendency is just to look at AI and to have it do their work. And kind of gone are the days of all the handwritten essays, even for AP Literature, which until this year, the exam was written after multiple choice, and now it's all digital. There's a Lockdown Browser for that too. But anyways, yeah, it is a very significant problem. And one fun thing to do, and I won't take any more of your time up, is to actually have ChatGPT up and to put a prompt in and have the students watch ChatGPT unfold it, and then we critique it. It actually doesn't really know literature that well, and it doesn't know culture, so so it's not their golden ticket, and we can educate them on that, so thank you.
Senator Gossage.
Thank you. If it would be helpful to the classroom, my daughter graduated from DeSoto High School, wanted to go into journalism, went to NYU. She's now executive editor of Fortune magazine.
Amazing.
But prior to that, she was at the Inc. 500. She was just talking to me yesterday about some of her writers in the magazine submitting AI stuff to her.
Yeah.
And she's like, wait a minute. No.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's entering the industry of journalism. What are your thoughts about that for your students?
I don't teach journalism, but it's, it's in my field. I think that we don't trust ourselves to think anymore. And
I
so
like that answer.
the question is going to be, and that's our duty in the classroom, is how do we get students to trust how they think? How do we extend the value of critical thinking to them? So why don't teachers go into teaching anymore? Why don't people go into teaching? That's one of the many hurdles that we deal with every day. It's so hard. And I'll just mention too, I'll be transparent. This is my 25th year. I have a master's degree. I defended my master's thesis at Yale, and I just broke $75,000 a year. So pay is a situation too. So who would want to work this hard for this long for, that few pay? So it is, we don't do it because of the pay, but we have families, and so that would help to have increased pay as well. So, and for special education too in Paris. So.
Well, I just wanted to offer, I know my daughter being a Kansas girl, she would be happy to visit with, any of your students or anything like that. And one last question. Who is your senator?
Kelly Warren.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Hang on. You're not getting away that easy. Senator Blasey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Senator Shane kind of stole my question with AI. I'm curious, how do you help students today find that creative spirit, that creativity in writing? Because kids, we see so many students today are just glued to technology and devices and screens. So how do you help kids turn that off and just really find the creativity in learning how to write?
It is about connecting with who they are as teens. One of my favorite quotes from Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie is that the world is full of people mostly not like us. And so if we can do a combination of exposing them to people who are not like them, but also exposing them to more of the teenage experience and what is valuable to them, the more they can invest in that, the more they love to come to class. My sophomores are finishing a unit on the universality of the teenage experience. And so we've selected titles featuring teenage protagonists. And they're producing a podcast episode. This is a risk I'm taking, by the way, with the support of my administration. No, we're producing podcast episodes on the universality of the teenage experience and to what extent are certain experiences universal. And they have to use 3 books, 2 of which they've self-selected from curated titles from our librarians. They also have to interview other generations about their teenage experience. And so getting them invested in who are they, who are others, and how do we respect the diverse range of experiences is really key. So, well, those of us who are of Gen X and beyond, the rote memorization, spitting out of things never worked and surely doesn't today. So the more that we can connect with them on a personal level, the better. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Rochelle. Hello, welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having us up here. My name's Rochelle Mann, and I am a K-4 music educator in Goddard, Kansas. This is my 11th year at Goddard and my 16th year teaching overall. I had kids, took a little break, and I was a kids pastor for 10 years. So this is my 11th year back in Goddard, and I'm very thankful that I am in Goddard, a very, very growing district. We just did a survey, and they say that we have 50 new housing developments that will be built in like the next 10 years or less. So we're expecting a monumental growth again. It'll be our second one in just a couple of decades. So I am thankful to get to be in a growing community. We have lots of teachers, and we just have a lot of students coming in, so keeping up with the growth is hard. I'm a K-4 teacher, so I have 500 kids that I teach. I'm the only one in the building that teaches them, so I'm down to 25 minutes at time. So it's just like a constant revolving little wheel going in. But in those 25 minutes, my goal is to really engage them and make them love the art of making and creating music. And I think one of my biggest joys is I just had 70 kids sign up to sing with the high school musical, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. They got to be the children's choir. They got to sing one song. And but out of my kids group, I only let about 200 kids see if they wanted to do it, and 70 of them were able to do that with me just recently. But the best part was going to the high school stage and seeing my students up on stage from years ago and talking to my students about what music meant to them. So that's my story.
I think one of those housing additions is right there next to the schools. I'm there every weekend with my granddaughter. She plays basketball at your facilities, and I'm telling you, they're going to have to widen that road if you guys get too
Boy,
many
I
more
sure hope they
students there.
do.
My goodness, it's
High
hard
schoolers
enough.
on that narrow road.
I
They
can't
make me
imagine.
nervous on the ice.
Questions for Senator Blasey?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'm very honored and proud to represent Goddard Schools. You guys do a great job, and you guys are growing so fast. That road, I think, will be getting paved. I heard maybe 4 lanes here soon, hopefully. So doing a lot of growth. But
That would be
a
fantastic.
few questions for you. Do you guys still do recorders?
We do still do recorders, and I love them. We do them in third. When I came, it was just a 4th grade thing, but I've put it all the way down to 3rd grade. The teachers love me, but the kids are absolutely fantastically excited about it. One of the things I do also is modern band is a new approach to teaching music education. You can bring it all the way down, but by 3rd and 4th grade, by 4th grade specifically, they're playing drum sets, they're playing electric bass guitars, they're playing ukuleles, and they're putting it all together and playing songs that they know and love. And that is so much fun. So right now I'm trying to figure out how to put recorders with Uptown Funk. So I'm almost there.
I appreciate that answer because I have a 2nd grader going to 3rd grade, and I just got to brace myself around the house with all the music that's coming with these recorders. I thought it was 4th grade, but you're saying it might be 3rd grade. So
Could be depending on the school.
we got to be prepared for that. I'll tell my wife. What is the one thing that you wake up to every morning and excited to go back going to work?
I love being a positive influence in kids. When I went back and got my master's, when I came back into teaching 11 years ago, one of the things that stuck with me in my master's class was they said that of all the teachers, and I truly can't understand this, they said of all the teachers, music educators were the most negative when polled by students. And I thought, well, of all things in the world, music should be a safe place for our kids. They're struggling with so many things, but when they come to music, they should be having fun. They should be moving. They should be learning. I get to collaborate with all the classroom teachers and bring in so many different things. My librarian is fabulous. We work back and forth, so children's literature is in our room all the time. And then I have to say my special ed students. They absolutely make my day. And if you know anything about students on the spectrum, they have audiation. They hear things at a completely different level than others. So I make it I don't know the word. I make it a thing that I do to find the skills that my special ed students have and let their peers see them excel at something that is amazing. And so I work with their special ed teachers to find what each child's unique gift is. And then that is something that we explore in the classroom, and I usually try to use something at a program so the whole school family can see that as well. So those are the 2 things that make me excited.
Senator Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And, you know, I have a special place in my heart for music educators because several reasons. Let's start with, this may shock some people in this room, but I was a fairly hyperactive child. But
music is a great place for...
But music, yeah, that just blew everybody's mind, right? But music for me was always just that place, like you said, you took it right out of my mouth, to go and just sort of, because I was always very expressive and I loved to sing, I loved to play, and it was always a great thing for me. I went to college my first 2 years for music education, and now I'm sitting here, so you can guess how well that worked out. But what is your favorite piece that your kids performed so far?
That is so hard, but I think a a few years ago, I did Firefly, the song Firefly, with my first grade students for their program, and we did flashlight choreography with it. So we got to turn out the lights. We were doing a campfire songs themed experience for our families. And watching the families' reactions to the Firefly lights going on was absolutely fantastic.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Gossage.
I just want to say, I can easily tell why you were given this award. You just bubble over, and teachers have to have that love of teaching or they're in the wrong profession, and to turn on when we see kids that are getting it and enjoying it. And I just want to say thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Any other questions? Rochelle? Thank you so much. And committee, we will be taking up a donation for a huge, loud drum set for Senator Blasey and his boys after committee. I'm hearing that's what he needs in his house. Okay. And recorders. Heather, welcome to committee.
Thank you. I will say my 5th grade daughter just started trombone, so if you think recorders are bad, just wait. I am a 3rd grade teacher just straight south of here, about 2 hours in Neodesha, Kansas at Heller Elementary School. I taught 6th grade for 9 years before that, and my very first job was actually as a special education teacher, because I was told when I was getting out of school that there were not going to be any jobs unless you had some type of endorsement. And so I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So I got my special ed endorsement, ended up getting my master's in special education, but found out that my true passion was in the classroom and making a little family every single year with my students. I have lived in Southeast Kansas most of my life, except for when I was in college. And my husband and I really wanted to go back to where we came from and raise our own family there. So I'm really passionate about rural education and making sure that everyone that lives in the big cities know that we're still important down in our rural areas as well. I love what I do every day. I love closing my classroom door and just making magic and making my kids excited to learn. That's really what I love to do every day.
Committee, what questions? Senator Gossage.
We have a lot in common. My first year of teaching, I taught 6th grade. It's because teachers were a plethora. There's so many. And they had needed 4 6th grade classrooms that year, so I was hired. But the following year, the 5th grade coming up was only 3 classrooms, so they moved me down to the next that had 4 3rd grade. And I thought, okay, well, I was thinking I was going to teach 6th, but okay, 3rd grade, here we go. I remember the first day, I said, number your papers from 1 to 10. And then I'd say, okay, and they go, I'm not done. I'm not done yet. And I thought, what? And I look around, and they're on their paper going 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm like, oh, 3rd grade, this is going to be different.
My first year, I had to slow down myself so much for after 9 years in 6th grade, and so my students would say, you're going at the 6th grade speed, you got to go 3rd grade speed. And so that's what we ended up calling it, is like Mrs. Newkirk's trying to go 6th grade speed, and she's got to slow down to 3rd grade speed. So yes.
It's such a joy, though.
It is, but it's an interesting transition because, and 3rd grade, I really do believe is such a pivotal year because you're going from learning to read to reading to learn. And when you have, you don't necessarily think that by the time they get to 3rd grade that where their birthday is matters, but I can sometimes really pinpoint that's a summer birthday because they're not quite there yet at some of the levels that, we think that everyone's just, oh, they're 3rd grade, they're on that level, but it truly does make a difference, that age gap, when you could have a 11 months difference, their maturity level and just their ability to read. And that's another thing. I recently got certified with the LETTERS program to get my literacy seal, and I think that is something that every elementary teacher in our state needs to be doing, because even though I got a wonderful education at KU and then my master's at Emporia State, the research that's coming out on teaching students how to read is just monumentally different than how I learned it in college, and I think it's very important that anyone retakes those courses and learns better ways to teach our kids how to read, because we all know there's a literacy crisis right now, and we've got to make sure that these kids are reading, and getting books in kids' hands is so important.
We are really pleased to hear that. I would also add, in teaching sixth graders, didn't you feel like, I have these 5 kids that are on a second grade reading level. That's so hard when they get to me in sixth grade and I'm trying to get them caught up somehow.
The gaps
Being in
just
third
keep getting
grade, at
bigger.
least the gap wasn't
Yes.
quite as wide. We were able to make more of a difference.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Committee, any other questions or comments? Yes, Senator Petty.
Well, I just really appreciate that you and I taught primary for a long time. So unlike my colleague and you going down and I went up. So, and then I went down again, but you're actually right about the pace and being tuned in. But I really appreciate you mentioning about the letters program and about your, being retrained and how important it is. Because it really does bring home the fact that we talk about how AI is here, and all the different technologies that are available. And we know that we're learning from those. And so it makes sense that we should also be improving how we understand how the brain works and how anyone is learning to understand the concept of reading and how important it is, so that they will become lifelong readers. And with the challenges of having technology or just something that you look at and not have to, well, you can do it on your computer as well, but to know that that is an important part of being a well-educated person, I think is so valuable. And I really appreciate your mentioning that.
Thanks. And I don't think it just relates to reading as well. I think that we've done a detriment to our students in trying to gamify math and making math on computers and say, oh, but it's a game, so it's fun. Because then if you look at the research on dopamine levels in the brain about how if they're getting that instant gratification from gaming, when they have to take a math test, and they have 20 questions on a math test, there's not instant gratification after every answer. And so then they're bored, or they have attention deficit, but we're doing it to our students by giving them these math games that they're termed educational, but it's really important that we take the time to educate parents and everyone else that these games are actually a detriment to your students and to just their attention spans in general, and that's something we have to deal with every day in the classroom. So we talk a lot at my grade level about the importance of, devices are great, ed technology is wonderful, but there is a time where ed technology should not be in every single classroom because we have to get back to learning. It's very important.
Just as a follow-up on that, the other thing is that with younger children, sometimes, and I taught preschool, that was one of the things I taught, but that parents will think, oh, they're learning because it's there. And if they don't have that parent partner with them, then it just is a guessing game.
That's right.
Learning.
Yep. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Senator Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Perhaps we should replace the electronics with drum sets.
Perhaps. Perhaps. Or trombones, yes.
Or trombones. Thank you so much for being here and sharing. And Mary Levon, welcome.
Thank you. I'm Mary Levon Roseberry. I'm a high school English and speech teacher at Sedgwick High School. We're a tiny 2A school just north of Wichita. This is my 11th year as a teacher and my 15th year in education, and I spend my days doing what I love. I give voices to the kids in my building that may not have had a voice previously to me coming to school. Sedgwick did not have a debate team, and we had a very defunct forensics team. And I've given these kids a group and a home within the school because they didn't feel like they fit anywhere else.
Questions? Senator Gossage and then Argabright.
Not what I expected you to say as an English speech communicator. Could you explain a little bit more about what we were talking about, giving them a home, giving them a voice?
I I'm also the debate and forensics coach. I'm the assistant theater director at our high school. And so a lot of kids in our small 2A school didn't feel like they had a place. They're not athletes. And sports are king in small schools. Sports are king in most public school districts. And I gave my students the ability to feel like they belonged.
If I may just share a quick story, my son Victor, who could have, he really is Adam Thomas, just a little bit younger, in that plays guitar. He's a music pastor, very ADHD going in school. When my husband and I would flip a coin of our 4 children, and whoever lost had to go to Victor's classroom and talk to his teachers. His desk was over in the corner, turned away from everybody because he'd want to entertain the class. He was a good athlete, but shorter, so not necessarily, the best one, but loved math. So we had the math competition, and at math competition, the directors of the math competition, this is when I was teaching school in Lawrence, had such a ball watching him, because walking in, this little short guy says, "Mom, I'm going to take first place." And I'm like, Victor, DeSoto schools have never gotten in the top 10. But hey, I appreciate you that you're excited about it and you're going to do your best, but I just want to prepare you. You're probably not going to be in the top 10. I was one of the judges, and of course I wasn't doing any of the kids that I had mentored. So I was working with a different grade level, and one of the teachers came over and motioning to me like that. And I said, "Do we just have 1 more minute?" She goes, "No, your son just took first place in 4th grade." And I thought, what? So when they were announcing, you know how they do it, right? They have the kids come down, you've got the big gym, kids up from all over the state are standing in a circle, and they go in 10th place, and everybody claps, give them a ribbon. Victor had no idea, because I didn't tell him and nobody told him. As they're coming down and they're going like in 5th place, he is on the ground, beating the ground, going, "Oh my gosh!" Like so excited for each person. And everybody said to me, this was more like an athletic event where like all the excitement, all the joy, and that's what we need to make academics, isn't it? And I appreciate that you're doing that and seeing the debate team, the speech team. But kids who are in debate don't necessarily become attorneys. It just helps them throughout life. And I appreciate that you're doing that. And who's your senator?
Senator Owens.
Senator Owens. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to just make some comments, okay? So I'll take you off the hook question-wise. Greg and Stephanie, thank you. Thank you, Emporia State, for doing this program and supporting our teachers across the state. It just humbles me to be in the presence of great educators each and every day. So thank you for what you do. And those kids, when you tell one of them that you might be a good teacher, that's impactful. And I hope you will do that for the sake of all of our kids, our grandkids, our great-grandkids, and more. And even the ones that are a sparkle in the eye that aren't quite here yet. But we need more teachers, and appreciate all of you, appreciate what you do. I hope you'll thank your colleagues too and support all of them, because they need you, and your administrators. So thank you very much. Thanks for what you do.
Any other questions or comments? So I was a Sedgwick Cardinal, went to R.L. Wright Elementary School, so I know where you are and those schools very well. I believe, did I miss any master teacher? Okay. Let's give them a round of applause. Greg, I would like to give you, just quickly, since we have just a couple minutes left, if you would please give us an overview of how these teachers were selected in the process and what an honor this is. If you could just...
I think there's 5, since I'm not involved. Nobody puts me on committees for a reason. Since I wasn't involved, I think there's 5 groups, Kansas Association of School Boards, I think it's one of them, KNEA, and 2 or 3 others that participate and have participated in this since it was formed in 1954. And There's a call for recommendations for the process, and this year, I think Stephanie said 36? 32 applications, so that's pretty big. Usually it's in the 20s. And it goes from all over the state, and they look for distinguished teachers, they look for recommendations of distinguished examples of teaching, and that's how there's a selection committee that makes the final process, so.
Okay, thank you so much. And we
Thank you.
appreciate Emporia State doing that. And I want to say thank you to our teachers. As a former teacher and principal myself, I know teachers are the lifeblood of our schools. As our teachers go, so go our students. So thank you for all of the work that you do. And let's give them one last round of applause. I believe you'll be joining us on the floor of the Senate, correct, for some recognition there. So we look forward to that as well. I want to hear some more stories, and catch me, whoever had Senator Argabright, for those details. Committee, the next committee meeting will be Monday. We will not be meeting tomorrow, but we will have a hearing on House Bill 2102 and House Bill 2185. And with that, we are Senator Sykes.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't think we have voted on a motion from this committee to move the budget out. And if we have, I just want the committee to realize that the budget that you talked about that we did not vote on to pass out of this committee, a recommendation, cuts $11 million in the current year funding, $3 million in programs that would affect our teachers that we just honored in this room, to $21.4 million from the House bill, and $2.5 million in SPED funding.
We did pass out our recommendations, and those are the recommendations that will go to Senate Ways and Means. Thank you. Seeing no other business before this committee, we are adjourned.